Pedro from A&P-Reacts. I'm here today with Joe of Urne to talk about Serpent in Spirit, out June 25th on Candlelight/Spine Farm Records. How's it going?
Yeah, man, it's all good. I can't complain. The weather here's been shit, so I've had 2 days off of work, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be nice. So it's rained for 24 hours, so I've had a rubbish day. But now I'm doing some press, and yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm good.
I thought the weather in England was always shitty.
Oh man, it's been obviously this compared to this time last year, like with all this COVID thing. I live near the beach and it was sunny. I was just like, oh, this is cool, like fucking hell. And we had the lowest cases in the country, so I was like, what's the worry? I was having a fucking great time. And then of course it ended up just being as bad as everywhere else, and I was like completely like taken back by it. But this year, up until the last 2 weeks, it's been so bad. So miserable. And this weekend you've got Download Festival, so it's the big rock and metal festival over here, and it always rains. It's like notorious. So the moment that tent went up, the fucking rain went, you know.
Is it still happening, Download, this year for you guys?
It's a pilot event, so it's only 10,000 people. So usually it's 70,000. So because it's sponsored by the government and paid by the government, they're doing a small version as a tester. So yeah, it's a pretty cool lineup if like for what they could do. And yeah, so it's happening this weekend for 3 days, 2 stages, 3 days.
Oh wow, some live music back.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about Urne and Serpent in Spirit. When did the band and when did the album start to take shape, or was it kind of simultaneously?
Well, we, myself and Angus, our guitarist, formed Urne after our last band split up. We kind of gave it a year, trying to get a few songs under the belt and trying to find the right lineup. And we had our drummer was a guy I toured with years ago, and I was like, I'd love to be in a band with him. And I texted him, and he was like, I've been waiting for this. And I was like, yeah, fucking me, lad. And so yeah, he joined. So yeah, and he's been waiting his whole life for my name to pop up on his phone. And yeah, like, so we wrote an EP, which was kind of simple, straightforward stuff. It was kind of like what we were doing before with another band, and it's not what me and Angus kind of grew up on or grew up playing. Bands before that, you know, we're like more into our metal and the kind of technical stuff. And we got that EP out, but as soon as that kind of EP was out, we started writing for Serpent in Spirit. So it took a while for everything to kind of start taking shape, and you know, there was a lot of baby steps with the EP and that. But once that was out, I think we got a complete focus, and kind of we knew what we wanted to do with this to a certain level. And then, as you know, it's quite a long album, so things get added and whatnot. So yeah, I'd say the band 2017, I would say. You know, someone went, "Oh, you formed in 2016. That's when you got your Twitter handle." I was like, "Fucking hell! How'd you know that? It's on Metal Encyclopedia or something." Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, how's this guy know? He knows stuff like this one guy, and I was like, fucking, oh, okay, yeah, fuck, yeah, cool. You got it. It's right, but yeah, 2017 and the writing of the album 2018. Really, we started writing for the album.
So you said following the EP, you kind of had an idea what you guys wanted for this album, Serpent in Spirit. How much of a game plan did you guys have, and how much did you allow yourself to for the record to be perhaps a little bit more organic?
I think we kind of had a meeting every now and then, like, lads, let's have a meeting to kind of get a focus. And I just wanted to do, you know, after years of doing, you know, this sort of metal and that sort of metal, growing up, like, all like loving the same sort of stuff, you know. And like our drummer's got like the older brothers, so they were taking him when he was young to like Ozfest in '96 when he was just like whatever, like 8 years of age. And Angus's dad's into metal, and he's called Angus, and after Angus from AC/DC and all that, and his brother's called Ozzy, obviously, after Ozzy Osbourne. And I kind of found my own way with it. And once I wanted to just be like, lads, let's get that buzz and that joy that we used to get when you used to go into record shops, bunking off of school, going to buy with your pocket money that you saved, trying to buy a record, and being like, I have no idea, but I've heard of this band, be it whatever. I've heard of the name Slayer, right? Okay, I'm going to buy a Slayer record. And I just wanted that joy, that coming back and being like, yes. So that was kind of like the thing, picturing like listening to Rust in Peace, Master of Puppets, whatever, Rainbow Rising, from like, you know, obviously earlier stuff, but that when I was a kid getting that, and I was like, right, my head's gone, this is amazing. And I just wanted to feel that again, you know, and I was like, let's try and write an album that would make us as 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, whatnot, be like, oh my fucking God. Like, that would get us really excited. And that was kind of like the blueprint. Let's write an album. I'd love to go in a time machine and go to myself, there you go. But I'd probably say it was shit, to be fair. But, you know, just take it back, go back in the future, get out. But yeah, I that's what it was. I wanted to write an album that I would be, if I heard it when I was a teenager, that I'd be like, this will stick with me. And that's why there's quite a lot of influences on there, because, you know, you kind of think about everything that you were listening to back then. And yeah, and we all kind of like different stuff. So
yeah, I know. And I think you get that vibe. Like that was the first thing that I noticed listening to the record. I mean, maybe not the first. The first is how heavy the album is. But the second thing that I noticed was how many different influences are coming at you, not necessarily from song to song, but even within the songs themselves. It's a little bit of a melting pot of different genres. Yeah. So is that a true representation of who you guys are as fans of the music?
Well, I think really, like, I must admit, when I saw your review, the first minute, I was like, oh no, because I always watch your reactions. I'm gonna pop up. I was like, he thinks it's shit. I was just like, and then by the end of it, I was just like, oh God, like, I was so gutted. I was like, I don't think he likes it. But no, for me, it's like, there's so much, obviously, you know, you get metal and then there's everything that's come from it. And where the three of us in the band, we all like metal, but there's always someone has an offshoot that they're deadly passionate about. And I think the whole album, if anything, it's like, in a way, it's kind of our sort of tribute to everything in metal. And I touched on it with something earlier, like, you form your own band, and sometimes I don't quite get it when there's a band that we're going to get a band together, but you're just going to sound like this band. We're just going to sound like a death metal band. We're just going to sound like this. That is what we want to do. That wouldn't do much for me. But you get a blank canvas and all your inspirations. If you get your own band, chuck everything at it and just see what happens. Like, you never know. And that's what kind of we did with this. And we just love everything. I mean, I've got, I'm pointing, you can't see it, but I've just got thousands of records, and be it for whatever sort of music. And if you listen to it enough and you're passionate about it, it gets ingrained in you somehow. And just put it out there, and you just don't know, it might come off. And you guys might not realize it. I might even think, oh, how did that riff come about? Like the end song, Tomb So Frail, it's a piece of music I've had like for 12 years, the acoustic part, because I'm massively into Westerns. And I've held on to that bit, but you can kind of tell the clear, like, inspirations behind it, but I've always had it. And it's just trying to fill it in, but I was waiting for the right moment. It's taken me 12 years. And, you know, but it's just being inspired by everything in heavy music and letting it come out and seeing where it went. And yeah, that's why I think Serpent Spirit sounds the way it does.
So how do you find the balance? Because you have an album that has a lot of different influences, but at the same time, you have to kind of make sure it works as a record and it's not just like a compilation, which is always a fear that I have going into an album that has a lot of diversity, is that it doesn't feel necessarily like a full-length record from one single band. It just feels like a greatest hits of different bands or different eras of the same band. So how do you find that balance? Because I felt overall the album, it didn't feel very disconnected to me. There was still a red line through it. There was still a nice fluidity from song to song.
I think there's a couple of things, like, really each individual performance, you know, our guitarist Angus, you know, for one man guitar, you know, he does it all himself live with pedals and whatnot. His tone, his style really pulls a lot together. And I would say, obviously, me and Rich, we know that he's the star in the band. We know that he's the one guy who's of a certain level that, you know, that certain people get to, and he's that. But with that, and I guess with a voice, because I've got a voice where I mean, I can't do anything. I'm not like trained. I've just always just shouted like I used to shout at football. Do you know what I mean? Just like, let's just have a go and see what happens. And over time, I've learned how to do other bits and bobs. But I think we've created our own. So every song does sound like us in a way, and I just think there's some signature bits that we put through. Be it my voice, be it the guitar. I know obviously the overall production, every single track sounds the same, but I just think the thing is, which like you touch in your review, everything's pretty heavy. Be it the mellow song, it still has a heavy feeling, you know, and everything about the album is heavy metal. Be it, I mean, some people will probably go, well, no, that's not heavy metal, or that's not, whatever, it fucking sounds heavy, so it's heavy metal. And I just think where every song sounds big and heavy, I think once you hear it, it does make sense. And I just think, like I say, every song does sound like us. And now pushing forward, once people have heard that, you know, there's certain things we can go back to and people will remember that we've already done something like that. We're sort of laying foundations with this album, because there's definitely a lot more to go. And I know it's easy to say, but there's a lot of room for this band to grow. But we've laid some really good foundations, and I feel like we've created our sound. But you know, I'm not like, definitely, like I say, a lot of it comes from Angus's taste, his guitar playing, the riffs he writes. I mean, me and him combine and write the riffs, and our drummer does as well. But once given to Angus, it creates the Urne sound for sure. Sorry for the long answer.
No, it's great. Like, I feel like every album comes with its own challenges, but a debut record perhaps has a little bit more challenges than any other album, because it's the first time that you're putting yourselves out there in that kind of format. Was there any specific challenges that you guys faced with this record?
COVID, nightmare. Like, we had to record during, like, Wales went into a lockdown, complete lockdown. We had to sneak in at night, so that was a nightmare. But no, do you know what? There was a couple of moments when we were writing where I sort of found, now that I've, you know, we've all been in bands for, I mean, years, since we were little kids. There comes a point when we would waste ages. I like writing music, practicing. I don't like writing it at home over the computer. We had to do it for like a bit in this album because of COVID, but there would be times growing up when I'd be in bands where we'd spend 5-6 weeks trying to make a song work, trying to like force it to work. And there was a couple of points where I felt like we were hitting that on this album. So we kind of gave ourselves, look, if by the third week it's not happening, bin it, move on, do something else. Like, well, let's write another song and come back to it. But to be fair, like, it was really smooth sailing. And obviously, COVID aside, we had our own issues. But once we kind of got into Wales, we were in the middle of nowhere. It was amazing the way we recorded. I couldn't even pronounce the place, to be fair. So it was somewhere in Wales. But we had no even recording. There was like one bit on the instrumental which I couldn't do, and I was smooth sailing. I'd like hit out 6 tracks in like 3 hours, and I thought I'd just turned into like Cliff Burton. I was like, I'm the fucking man. And then I hit a bit, and then all of a sudden the lads were there watching, and I hate if someone's watching and I can't do something. Game over. The head's gone. And I was like, no, I stormed out. Next morning, I walked straight in, me and the producer, done. But that was about it. There was no real challenges. Everything's gone fine, which is the worry, touch wood and all that. But everything's gone really well so far. Yeah, fingers crossed, Jesus. Probably get off after this and everything goes to shit. But yeah, fingers crossed.
That's not the case. I don't want to be the bad omen. I don't want to be blamed for anything that happens that it wasn't supposed to happen. Then you're going to say it's my fault. So let's not go down that path. You touched on the guitars, and I really wanted to ask you about this because I felt like the guitar sound, the overall approach, everything surrounding the guitars was really outstanding on this record. And regardless of the variety or diversity of style, the quality and the end result was always magnificent. How much work in the studio was it to get it to where you guys going? Or or the perfection that we hear on the record is a lot more natural than what it appears to be?
Man, there's I will Facebook you. There's the hardest riff on the album is on Desolate Heart, and I've got a video of Angus doing it. Done, simple. He smashed it. And bear in mind, he's the only guitarist, and he had to do take after take, double takes. You know, we did like 3 guitars on each side. It's what you hear is what he plays. There was not any of this kind of editing stuff or whatnot. And I'll say for Angus, I mean, when he recorded the album, I don't think he practiced hard enough, and I don't think we hadn't been playing in a metal band for a few years. We've been playing in a sort of like a sludge, doomy band, which is very easy. So you kind of lose your chops. And I'm still trying to gain back what I had. Where Angus, when we went to record the EP, and he hit a bit of a wall, and I'd never seen it, and it was really new for him because it shocked him. And we were recording with a guy, Josh, who's in Silosis, who's one of the best guitarists in the world. So I think it was a bit of a, oh my God, like, what the fuck? And I was shocked because I'd never seen Angus struggle. So the work he put in to get himself back to that level is unbelievable. And I'm like, both me and Rich are so proud of him because he's really put the work in. And I hope for him, I hope for Angus, that he gets credit. I hope people start listening going, Jesus Christ, this guy is good. He's the most humble guy. He's like, everyone who ever meets him is just like, what? Like, this guy's just so mellow. And he could be, what he's wrote on this album, bear in mind there's so much variety, but he's done everything. For me, I know it's biased and it's easy for me to say, but I think he's done everything of a very high quality.
Yeah, I agree.
And some of the solo stuff, there is a solo actually in Moon in Sky. He hated it. He was like, no, I've got to change it. And me and Rich were like,
favorites. It's like,
yeah,
probably, I mean, it's hard to say, but it's probably the best solo on the whole record. I just love how it sounds.
Yeah. And me and Rich were like, we were like, no, that's staying. Forget whatever. And it never changed from the first time he played it. Like when we were writing ages ago, it never changed because we wouldn't allow it. And sometimes the first time is just fine. You know, you don't have to go back and chase something. Chasing something. If it's there, it's there. And yeah, I think, you know, we've been around music enough, and we know now, you know, back in the day, yeah, I would have been fine for it, but I've learned so much through doing this for 20 years from, like I say, when I was young, like, you know, now, okay, that's fine. Just leave it. Just leave it. And I think it's unreal solo. Some of the guitar work.
It is. And I agree 100% with you. Like the output, the quality, the constant quality throughout is magnificent. It's not like there's a dip here and there, or, you know, you feel like, oh, it could have been a little bit better on this song, that song. No, like, regardless of where he's going, he's always getting there in a Ferrari. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of
totally. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
And let's talk about your vocals, because you mentioned you screaming at the footy matches, at the referees on wankers and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So your vocals were, in my opinion, I really like what you did, because you allowed the record to be as eclectic as it is on the soundscape side of it. Is the same nature you get from your vocals, because you didn't have the one size fits all approach from the first song to the last song. And I always felt like that gave the album a little bit of extra life, because you're getting it on the musical side, but then you're also getting it on the vocals. So it's a nice little compliment. Which side of your range are you most comfortable with?
Do you know what? I think the heavier side, just the shouting, the clean singing is something that I'm still getting used to. Getting the confidence in that, you know, I never really tried to do it up until 3-4 years ago, but growing up, you know, listening to a lot of Motown and whatnot, and that's funny enough, like, big thing. That's kind of what I look to for the clean vocals. But everyone I've had people go, "You really sound like Ozzy Osbourne," and I'm like, I love Sabbath, I love Ozzy, but I've never, as a vocalist, I've never gone, I really want to sound like Ozzy. And I hope they don't mean that version where he sounds like a robot, because I'd be absolutely gutted. But you know what I mean? But no, I feel more comfortable with the heavier stuff. But when recording, actually, I started to feel at ease with some of the clean singing, and there's a few like really high King Diamond stuff in there, and that's no computer things, that's just me doing layers upon layers of like really high pitched kind of like clean singing. But yeah, like the vocals, it's taken me, years to kind of get used to and kind of add some clarity into what I'm saying. You get a lot of singers now heavy singers where at the end of it, I really don't know what they've just said, but I'm sure it's great. But I want to try and get it as kind of clear sounding as possible when I shout. I kind of want people to be able to kind of know what I'm saying. So yeah, there's been a lot of work, but yeah, I'm more comfortable with the heavier side for sure. And live, I probably am as well. I'm still not at that level yet where I'm gonna start belting out.
You're not gonna sing with your back to the crowd, the clean ones, right?
Mate. I'll let the crowd sing when they know it. I'll be like, yeah, go on, like, yeah, wicked. Thank God for that. Like, so yeah, hopefully that happens. Jesus Christ, but save me some breath.
I have one last question for you, and that is, as you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is the release date for this record, and you start to get excited about fans being able to listen to the whole album. If I press you on what do you feel is the biggest strength of this record, what do you feel that would be?
The biggest strength. Fuck. I mean, I guess it's easy for me to say something kind of like arty-farty, but I touched on it a minute ago. If I was just a musician or just anyone, and the moment you hear what Angus is doing, like I say, me and Rich, we're good at doing what we do. Like I purposely make the bass very more solid just so Angus can do his thing. But I think the strength of it, I think it's a really interesting variety. I mean, there's a lot of albums now. I get 10 tracks, and sort of 10 tracks will probably sound the same. Like there's nothing, wow, that's different from that one. A lot of them, and a lot of bands are good at it, and a lot of bands not they keep to one thing and they do it great. But with us, even though I think once you hear it, you start to understand the earned sound. I think it's interesting all the way. I think you'll miss something track for track if you skipped it, and I feel like there's something special about each track. So I think having it so diverse, I think, is the strong point. Even though it ties in because everything's heavy. Mm-hmm. I think having 8 tracks that each have their own. It's like that kind of growing up. I could tell you what Battery was from Disposable Heroes. I could tell you what Damage Inc. was compared to like fucking Sanitarium. I felt like each song kind of had their own thing, and that's what I think we've tried to do with this. Whereas it all sounds like us, you'll be able to pinpoint what each song is. Because sometimes now, like I listen to maybe whatever the latest At the Gates, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that song, the single, I couldn't tell you the other cuts. And that's probably me doing them a disservice. But I think how diverse it is a really strong point. But I also think Angus's guitar playing should take him. Personally, I really do hope it takes him to a level that people give him the credit he does. And the Filipino Flash, he's the man. He's the man. So I hope he gets credit from this. I really do.
Well, you guys did a wonderful job on this debut record. So it's just really going to set the bar in terms of what comes next. But until then, it's time for you guys to enjoy the present and enjoy Serpent Spirit in a couple of days. It's going to be out for the fans to enjoy as well. So the guys.
Man, thank you very much. And it's been an honor. Like I say, I love watching your reaction
thank
videos.
You for taking the time to chat with me about the record. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you sending me a message after I posted the review as well. It's always nice to,
man.
Like, I give my honest opinion, but it's also nice to get your honest opinion on my honest opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally. Like I say, I at the start, I was just like, I fucking hates it. It's like the first review I've seen instead of like reading. And then, like I say, within a minute, I was just like, oh, no, he doesn't. He's just, he's going, oh, this is what you would get, but this is actually what this is what this does offer. And this is how it all becomes this amazing thing. And by the end of it, and what I really like, your three favorite songs are completely different to what I've heard from a lot of people. I like the fact that you've had the short, punkier track, I guess. the really like dark, mellow, somber track, and the like really uplifting kind of Moon in Sky. I really thought it was interesting.
I try to pick 3 songs that offered something different to really showcase the variety that the record has. But at the end of the day, I really like them because personally, my musical taste kind of gravitates towards those 3 key points. So I really like what you guys had to do in those 3 tracks, specifically the more punk driven, at least from a structural perspective. I thought that song was just so out of the box compared to everything else that the record had to offer that made it stand out. Like the moment, like you said, the moment you listen to it, you know what song you're listening to. It's just, it becomes memorable because of the way it's presented.
What I'd say with that, funny enough, we each wrote a part each. And the drum beat in the middle was our drummer. And that was the first bit. Massive Motorhead fan. So it was kind of like Bomber or whatnot, kind of like certain tracks adding a groove from Motorhead. And then he played that. I had this opening riff that was kind of inspired by like a Nevermore riff. And then Angus had this riff at the end. So it's Nevermore, Motorhead and whoever at the end. And there you go. 2.5 minutes later, it's amazing to play live as well. Like there's an energy behind that one.
Yeah, it's definitely an energetic kind of track. Well, Joe, thank you very much for your time, man. All the best to you and the guys with the release, and see you guys on the road at some point in time. Maybe
it'd be amazing.
If I'm able to make it into that island of yours.
Man, fingers crossed, eh? It'd be a right laugh. So yeah, cool, man. Well, enjoy the Euros, enjoy all the football.
Oh, you too. All the best. Maybe our countries will see themselves in the final.
I have Portugal in the sweepstake at work. So
well, yeah. Let's take it easy there. You know what I mean? Like like I always like to take things one game at a time, but you know, the final between those 2 countries would be a nice final anyways, as long as it doesn't go to penalties.
Yeah, no. I haven't got a heart for that.
We win if it goes to penalties.
I think so. Yeah, because we're England and we're terrible, notoriously terrible at penalties. Yeah. So, but man, enjoy and good luck.
Yeah, you too. Take care, man.
Great. Catch you in a bit, pal. Bye bye.